from Hollywood, I'm Martin Grove, welcoming you to our Screendollars podcast, Box Office Autopsy. Right now, we'll look at the movie marketplace and analyze how things are going and where they're going, sharing some opinions from my perspective after decades of talking about Hollywood on CNN Entertainment Tonight and as a Hollywood Reporter columnist. Box office skies went from gray to black this weekend as Black Adam gave theaters the recovery they've needed since July. After months of no A-list product from the studio's exhibitors finally have a superhero able to bring moviegoers back. With no competition from day-and-date streaming, Adam moved full steam ahead with an opening weekend better than some Hollywood handicappers thought likely. Also overperforming was the rom-com Ticket to Paradise starring George Clooney and Julia Roberts, which hadn't tracked well and was trashed by Rotten Tomatoes critics. As expected, last weekend's number one opening, Halloween Ends, ran out of witch's brew, taking a terrible tumble in weekend two. On today's box office autopsy, we'll check out the openings of Black Adam and Ticket to Paradise. And later, in our Oscar Outlook Spotlight, we'll look at the early Best Picture conversation where Netflix isn't making as much noise as it usually does. But we start today atop the box office chart with Warner Brothers and DC's Black Adam starring Dwayne Johnson. Here's a quick look that explains why moviegoers had to see it.
Woo! Look at that suit. It's cool.
Thanks. You too.
Cyclone, Smasher, now is your time.
Not me. I don't fly. I get big. That's what I do.
Adam kicked off to $67 million at 4,402 theaters, beating the $60 million plus launch that analysts were anticipating late in the week, and way better than the $55 to $60 million that Hollywood handicappers were talking about after cutting back their original overly exuberant projections for $75 to $80 million. Exhibitors were close with predictions of $60 to $65 million for Adam, which reportedly cost $195 million to produce. Adam also got off to a super start internationally, per ComScore, with $73 million in 76 markets, for a worldwide cum of $140 million. ComScore said the marketplace domestically hit $114.6 million this weekend, up 46.5% from the prior weekend. It's the first $100 million plus weekend since mid-July. Adam's debut shows Wall Street that moviegoers are happy being back in theaters as long as distributors provide films people really want to see. Analysts noted that families played a big part in Adam overperforming. That's the opposite of Wall Street's routine warning that families are taking time to return to cinemas because of COVID fears. Apparently, all families really need are suitable pictures for kids that look like they'll be fun to see. And Adam clearly filled that need. Adam's late week tracking was sizzling, with an average first choice score 9 points over norm. Its best demo was Older Men, who were 19 points over norm. Critics hate it at 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, but who cares? It's not a review-driven movie. What will help is good word of mouth, which is likely with a 90% audience score on RT. Adam sent last week's chart topper Halloween Ends from Universal, Blumhouse, and Miramax plunging to fourth place this weekend. It's second in theaters, with just $8 million at 3,901 theaters. Its staggering 80% slide after having opened to 40.1 million should put an end to Ends. Its domestic cume is 54.2 million. Universal Working Title and Smokehouse Pictures' PG-13 rom-com Ticket to Paradise opened second to 16.3 million at 3,543 theaters, showing much greater box office strength than media pundits or the tracking had originally pointed to. Analysts started out projecting 10 to 12 million and then went to 15 to 20 million. They fine-tuned that late last week to 14 to 16 million. Exhibitors were in the right ballpark with 15 to 17 million. Ticket was scoring low as a first choice on the tracking, with all demos below norm, except for Older Women, who were 7 points over norm. Expectations were low given the tracking and Ticket's dismal 55% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes, which had started out as a bad 68% earlier last week. What should help Ticket is good word of mouth, which its 88% audience score on RT indicates is likely. This sneak peek is called Rotten to Each Other, and should help you decide if it's a ticket you're going to buy.
We just thought it was fun because we get to be rotten to each other, which is funny.
You haven't had a date since Lily was in braces.
At least when I do date, it's age appropriate. For once, you could back me up.
I could, but then I'd be wrong too. I just got bit by a fly.
Hang on, I got He's a killer, this thing.
You sure they're not sharks?
Come on, don't be a chicken.
So you chicken.
Can't believe I got bit by a dolphin.
Did you get it on camera? George Clooney.
Yeah.
Can we get something a little more age appropriate for these two?
Oh, no.
Dad, stop!
Oh, my God.
Well, this is getting weird.
Looking ahead, Black Adam will own next weekend. Lionsgate's PG-13 horror thriller Pray for the Devil has only one demo on the tracking showing signs of life, and that's younger women who traditionally are horror's core audience. But they're tracking just equal to norm. All other demos are below norm, so it's likely time to pray for the devil. Next weekend, we'll see two awards contender dramas going into wider release, but they don't pose any box office threat to Adam. There's Focus Features' Tar, and there's Till from United Artists releasing MGM and Orion Pictures. Both are Oscar hopefuls with their best shot in the Best Actress race. The R-rated drama Tar, from Todd Field, who directed In the Bedroom, stars Cate Blanchett as composer-conductor Lydia Tar, the first female music director of a major German orchestra. Blanchett's always a strong awards contender, having previously won 2 Oscars, in 2014 for lead actress for Woody Allen's dramedy Blue Jasmine, and in 2005 for Martin Scorsese's biodrama The Aviator. Here's a scene from Tar to help you decide if it goes on your must-see list.
Time is the thing. Time is the essential piece of interpretation. You cannot start without me. See, I start the clock. My left hand, it shapes, but my right hand, the second hand, marks time and moves it forward. However, unlike a clock, sometimes my second hand stops, which means that time stops. Now, the illusion is that, like you, I'm responding to the orchestra in real time, making the decision about the right moment to restart the thing or reset it or throw time out the window altogether. The reality is that right from the very beginning, I know precisely what time it is and the exact moment that you and I will arrive at our destination together.
The PG-13 rated true-life drama Till is from Chinoney Chukwu, who directed Clemency. In Till, Danielle Deadwyler plays the mother of teenager Emmett Till, who was brutally murdered in a 1955 lynching in Mississippi. His mom vows to expose the racism behind his death and to see his killers brought to justice. An Oscar nomination for Till would be Deadwyler's first. This scene from Till shows why Deadwyler's a Best Actress front runner.
All right, now you're gonna miss your train. Bo, when you get down
Oh,
there...
not again, Mama. I've already been to Mississippi.
Only one time before, and you started a fight with another little boy.
He was picking on me.
You're in the right to stand up for yourself, but that's not what I'm talking about. They have a different set of rules for Negroes down there. Are you listening?
Yes.
You have to be extra careful with white people. You can't risk looking at them the wrong way.
I know.
Bo, be small down there.
Like this?
The real box office action exhibitors have been anxiously awaiting since July. Will finally be here November 11th with Disney and Marvel's Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's already sizzling on the tracking 3 weeks before it hits theaters. Wakanda's average total awareness is an enviable 39 points over norm, leaving no doubt that its marketing campaign is on target. Wakanda's average definite interest score is a sizable 21 points over norm. All 4 demos are tracking huge. Younger men are best with 23 points over norm. Analysts began buzzing about an opening of $180 to $225 million. Then some of them upped it to $200 to $250 million. Late this week, projections were cooling to a still very hot $175 million. The original Black Panther, starring the late Chadwick Boseman, opened February 16, 2018 to $202 million and did $700.4 million domestic with $1.35 billion worldwide. It scored 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, a major surprise since Academy members rarely consider mainstream commercial movies as potential Best Pictures. Boseman, sadly, wasn't rewarded with a Best Actor Oscar nom. Black Panther's 2 wins in 2019 were for production design and costume design. And since we're already talking about the Oscars, let's plug in our Oscar Outlook spotlight to see what's happening on the awards front. Wall Street's starting to like Netflix again, and probably won't care that it's not making much noise in Oscars' early Best Picture conversation. In recent years, Netflix was a prime picture contender with Alfonso Cuarón's Roma in 2019, Martin Scorsese's The Irishman in 2020, and David Fincher's Mank in 2021. Roma had 10 noms, including picture, and 1 for directing, cinematography, and foreign language film. The Irishman also had 10 noms, including picture and directing, but no wins. Mank, you guessed it, also had 10 noms, including picture and directing, and it won for cinematography and production design. Clearly, Netflix's awards marketing team has been a high achiever with noms, but no one can make Academy members vote wins for films they don't absolutely love. Netflix's best shot at a 2023 Best Picture nod looked like Noah Baumbach's drama White Noise, but its quiet reception at Venice was damaging. Venice also threw cold water on Andrew Dominik's NC-17 biodrama Blonde. Netflix's biodrama The Good Nurse is a long shot at this point, as is its romantic drama Lady Chatterley's Lover. Some awards handicappers are buzzing now about Netflix's crime dramedy Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. From Knives Out's Rian Johnson, with Daniel Craig back as Detective Benoit Blanc. It's a likely audience pleaser, but historically this is the kind of mainstream movie that Oscar voters don't regard as a Best Picture contender. It also won't help that what looked like a major step by Netflix to open Glass Onion in about 600 theaters for 1 week starting November 23rd isn't going to be a first step toward more theatrical releases by Netflix. Those hopes were dashed by Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos on an investor call last week. Academy members might have viewed Netflix with more affection as a growing partner for theatrical exhibition. Of course, with 10 Best Picture noms, there might be room for one mainstream movie, but Netflix's Glass Onion will be up against the much-loved mainstream blockbuster Top Gun Maverick, for which Tom Cruise is a likely Best Actor nominee. Having Cruise on-hand Oscar night would boost ratings for a show that desperately needs to deliver more viewers to ABC. Although it's still early in the Oscar season, time is flying by on the Golden Globes front. With the Globes announcing noms December 12th and handing out statuettes January 10th, what we should be seeing, but aren't, is a steady stream of HFPA news conferences, photo ops, catered screening events, and industry media ads trying to influence HFPA voters. News conferences were a key issue with publicists who said their clients were insulted with rude questions, but had to participate to get Globe's consideration. The HFPA made a smart move by announcing Friday night that they've scrapped news conferences for all eligible films. Actually, all films released in 2022 are eligible. That solved the potential problem of some publicists not submitting their high-profile films and talent for HFPA consideration. Earlier, the HFPA had set November 7th as the deadline for all submissions for TV and movies. It's also been quite quiet as to who will host NBC's Globes telecast on Tuesday, January 10th. An announcement could hit at any time, but at this writing it's still unknown, and it's getting late. The best buzz has been that the HFPA should try to get Will Smith to host and chat about his last Oscar appearance. Now that's something that could have A-listers lining up for Globes tickets. And that's it for today's box office autopsy. We'll be back next week to see how Black Adam holds up and how Pray for the Devil debuts. And we'll keep our Oscar Outlook spotlight shining brightly on the awards front. So please join us again then, and thanks very much for listening. Time now for our film flashback look at what was happening in Hollywood right around now, way back then. Let's set today's time travel dial for October 24th, 1962. Today's thrillers are horror films, but 60 years ago they were an entirely different genre, driven by dark storylines that kept moviegoers on the edge of their seats with plot twists no one saw coming. The Manchurian Candidate defined the thriller genre when it opened October 24th, 1962, at the height of U.S.-Soviet hostilities during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The psychological political thriller from United Artists, starring Frank Sinatra, Lawrence Harvey, and Angela Lansbury, was directed by John Frankenheimer, whose next movie was the political thriller 7 Days in May. Manchurian's screenplay by George Axelrod, based on Richard Condon's 1959 novel, centers on Korean War veteran Raymond Shaw, Lawrence Harvey, who's from a prominent political family and was brainwashed after Korean troops captured his army platoon. Returning now to civilian life, he becomes an unwitting assassin in an international communist conspiracy to kill an American presidential nominee in a plot to overthrow the U.S. government. This was an incendiary storyline at the time, and UA Chairman Arthur Krim, who also was finance chairman of the Democratic Party, felt it would be irresponsible to film it. Sinatra went directly to his friend President Kennedy, for whose campaign in 1960 he'd raised $2 million. When Kennedy said he loved the book and had no objections to it being filmed, Krim gave the project a green light. Kennedy asked who was going to play the key role of Shaw's mother, but no decision had been made yet. Sinatra wanted Lucille Ball, but Frankenheimer preferred Lansbury, with whom he'd just made All Fall Down. Fortunately, Frankenheimer prevailed. Lansbury was perfect casting, with a supporting actress Oscar nomination in her future. Obituaries for Lansbury, who died earlier this month, cited Manchurian as one of the films for which she's best remembered. They also noted that at the time, she was only 3 years older than Harvey, who was playing her son. Some obits also recalled that Ball wound up starring in 1974's Mame in the title role that Lansbury had originated on Broadway in 1966. Manchurian was produced for $2.2 million, but $1 million was Sinatra's salary and $200,000 went to Harvey, leaving only $1 million for everything else. Frankenheimer managed to shoot it in a fast 39 days. Because Sinatra felt his best acting was always in take one, most of Sinatra's scenes are first takes. His limited availability meant that all his scenes had to be shot in just 15 days. Sinatra insisted on seeing all his footage before he left the set, including the film's multi-perspective brainwashing sequence. To accommodate him, film editor Ferris Webster went through the shooting script to establish all the cuts needed for that elaborate scene. Webster, who later was Oscar-nominated, assembled the footage for Sinatra to see, and it went into the final cut unchanged. And that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another box office autopsy next week. In Hollywood for Screendollars, I'm Martin Grove.